On that rainy night, as usual, I set off for my night shift at the company. The city lights appeared particularly hazy through the rain, with only occasional passing vehicles breaking the tranquility of the sparsely populated streets. I worked at a tech company located on the outskirts of the city, responsible for nighttime data, monitoring a seemingly mundane yet indispensable role. I stepped into the company building. I felt a sense of oppressive air, different from usual, as if foreboding that something unusual would happen that night. I pressed the elevator button, and with a ding, the elevator doors slowly opened. I stepped in and pressed the familiar floor number. During the ascent, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. However, when I turned around, I only saw my own reflection swaying on the metal walls. Perhaps I was just too nervous. Upon reaching the office, I began my routine checks. The blue light from the monitors flickered in the dark, and the data stream scrolled silently across the screens, everything seemingly calm. However, as I immersed myself in work, a faint sound broke the silence. It was the kind of soft, deliberate footsteps of someone trying to avoid making noise. My heart tightened, and a thought immediately flashed through my mind: could there be a thief? I stood up cautiously, trying not to make a sound, took my phone out of the drawer, and turned on the flashlight. The light was weak, but it was enough to see around in the dark office. I quietly approached the direction the sound came from, moving towards the conference room. A faint light seeped through the crack under the door. My heartbeat quickened, and my grip on the phone tightened. Sweating, just as I was about to push the door open to investigate, it suddenly opened from the inside, and a shadow rushed out, colliding with me. The person clearly didn't expect anyone to be there. Almost stumbling, I instinctively grabbed his arm, but he reacted quickly, twisting and breaking free from my grip, then sprinted towards the emergency exit. I stood there stunned for a few seconds, then immediately gave chase, but the darkness and rain quickly obscured his figure. Returning to the office, I called the police and began checking for any stolen items. Strangely, apart from the conference room door being forcibly open, nothing else seemed to be disturbed. I was filled with confusion. What was the thief after? The police arrived swiftly, and after questioning and investigating, they told me that, according to surveillance footage, the figure headed straight for the conference room upon entering the company, and did not stop anywhere else. Even more puzzling was that besides a few disturbed folders, nothing of value was missing from the conference room. The police speculated that this might have been a targeted action rather than ordinary theft. In the following days, a sense of unease pervaded the company. Colleagues speculated about the mysterious thief's motive, with some suggesting industrial espionage and others believing it might be an act of revenge by a former employee. As the sole witness, I felt a mix of emotions, the night's experience lingering like an unsolved mystery in my mind. A few days later, an unexpected twist occurred. An anonymous email appeared in my work inbox. Its contents brief yet shocking thank you for our unexpected encounter, which made me stop in time. Some secrets are best left buried. Attached to the email was an encrypted file, which, after being decoded by the technical department, revealed detailed information about a confidential project our company was working on. If leaked, it could cause immeasurable damage to the company. It turned out that the thief was actually an insider who discovered serious security vulnerabilities in the project and attempted to draw upper management's attention in this extreme manner. Realizing the direct approach was too risky after being discovered, he chose to issue an anonymous warning. The company's upper management took the matter very seriously, immediately organizing a task force to review the project and comprehensively rectify the security loopholes. As for me, because of this unexpected encounter, on a cloudy, dark night, I drove alone to the factory located in the outskirts, ready to start my night shift. The factory was far from the bustling city, surrounded by sparse trees and a few dim streetlights, adding a sense of loneliness and desolation to the quiet night. I worked there as a night security guard, responsible for patrolling and monitoring the safety of the entire facility. As I slowly drove through the factory gate, a gust of wind blew, rustling the fallen leaves on the ground, causing me to shiver involuntarily. I closed the car door, took a deep breath, and reminded myself that it was just another ordinary night. However, a vague sense of unease began to quietly spread in my heart. I walked into the empty monitoring room and activated all the surveillance cameras. The screens lit up one by one, reflecting the tranquility of various corners of the factory. I made myself a strong cup of tea, trying to dispel sleepiness and the inexplicable fear. Time passed by, everything seemingly normal. Until an unusual scene on the monitor caught my attention. In the footage of Warehouse Snow 3, a blurry figure appeared intermittently, as if lurking in the shadows. At first, I thought it was a malfunction of the equipment or a hallucination from tired eyes, but when I switched to other camera angles, the figure was still there, seemingly approaching the main factory building. My heart raced as I gripped the walkie-talkie, ready to call my colleague for assistance. But common sense told me it might be better to investigate alone first. I picked up a flashlight and silently left the monitoring room. Walking down the dim corridor towards Warehouse Snow 3, each step echoed on the cold floor, creating hollow sounds, while the air was filled with a repressive atmosphere. As I approached the warehouse entrance, the figure suddenly disappeared, leaving only a dead silence. I pushed open the warehouse door, the flashlight beam sweeping over stacked goods without finding anything unusual. Just as I was about to turn and leave, a low murmuring sound came from deep within the warehouse. It was a language I had never heard before, ancient and eerily chilling. My heartbeat quickened, and I felt a chill run from my feet to the top of my head. Resisting the urge to flee, I decided to investigate. As I moved deeper, the murmuring became clearer, seemingly guiding me to the depths of the warehouse. In a corner filled with old machinery, I finally found the source of the sound, a human-like shadow facing a wall, head down, muttering continuously. I tried to call out, but my throat felt blocked, only producing a raspy sound. The shadow seemed to notice my presence and slowly turned around. At that moment, I almost screamed, for it was not a human face, but a distorted mask made of countless thin black lines, with hollow eye sockets that seemed to swallow all light. Instinctively, I stepped back, dropping the flashlight in my panic, plunging the area into darkness. I heard the thing moving closer, the air filled with a putrid smell. Just when I thought I was doomed, a call came through the walkie-talkie from a colleague on routine check. The oppressive feeling dissipated instantly. When I turned the flashlight back on, the terrifying figure had vanished, leaving me alone, panting and sweating. Back in the monitoring room, I tried to explain what had happened, only to find the surveillance footage had turned to static at the crucial moment, providing no evidence. Since then, whenever the night is mentioned, colleagues look at me with skeptical eyes, as if hearing an exaggerated story. I know in my heart, it was not just an illusion or a dream, but a real, terrifying experience. From that day on, the factory was no longer just a workplace for me, but a maze of the unknown and fear. Every night shift, I remained extra vigilant. On a late autumn night, the cold wind howling, I walked alone towards my night shift job. As a night shift clerk at a 24-hour convenience store, such nights were not unfamiliar to me. The street lights were dim, and occasional speeding cars splashed roadside puddles, breaking the silence of the night. I wrapped my coat tighter and quickened my pace, silently hoping for a peaceful night. The convenience store was located on a relatively secluded street, surrounded by a few scattered small shops, most of which were already closed. I opened the store door, greeted by a familiar sense of security: bright lights, the neatly arranged shelves, and the old cash register. I habitually checked the store's condition, ensuring everything was in order, and began my night shift. Time quietly passed in the monotony of cashier duties and restocking goods, until around 2 in the morning, with the streets nearly deserted. I began to feel a bit drowsy and couldn't help but yawn several times. Just then, a faint knocking at the store door broke the night silence. I was a bit surprised. A customer at this hour? I walked to the door and peered through the glass, seeing a figure standing in the rain, clad in a large black raincoat, hat pulled low, face obscured by shadows. Out of professional habit, I unlocked the door, feeling a hint of caution but thinking it might be a customer in urgent need of something. "Welcome. How can I help you?" I asked politely. The person did not respond, merely stepped slowly into the store, rainwater dripping from the raincoat onto the floor, creating a soft pattering sound. I followed behind, noticing they headed directly to the section with cigarettes and alcohol, which put me slightly at ease, thinking they were a regular customer buying cigarettes. However, just as they stopped in front of the cigarette rack, they suddenly turned, drawing a gleaming knife from under the raincoat and pointing it at my chest. I was instantly terrified, my mind going blank. Instinctively, I stepped back a few paces, wanting to cry out but was harshly silenced by the person. "Don't shout. Give me the money." His voice was low and urgent, carrying an undeniable threat. I tried to calm myself, realizing that in this situation, staying alive was paramount. I raised my hand slowly, signaling that I wouldn't resist, while glancing around for an escape opportunity. "Okay, don't get agitated. I'll get you the money," I said, slowly moving towards the cash register, calculating my chances of getting away. As I pretended to open the register, I noticed a figure moving under the streetlight outside the store. Although I couldn't be sure if anyone had noticed what was happening, it gave me a glimmer of hope. I quickly pressed the hidden alarm button under the register that the owner had installed for emergencies. Almost simultaneously, I pretended to comply, taking the cash from the register and handing it to the man, saying in a low voice, "This is all the money. Please don't hurt me." He took the money, seemingly letting his guard down, and turned to leave. At that critical moment, I leapt to the side, escaping his line of sight, and quickly dashed towards the back door. Fortunately, the back door was unlocked. I burst outside, running frantically towards the nearest lights, which came from a fast food restaurant still open nearby. The sound of footsteps behind me told me that the man had noticed and was chasing me, but I knew I would be safe if I reached the crowd. I finally stumbled and fell at the fast food restaurant's entrance, practically crawling inside and shouting for help. The people inside immediately called the police, and someone bravely stepped forward to help me. The police arrived quickly, and the would-be robber was caught shortly thereafter. Looking back, that night felt like a nightmare, making me deeply appreciate the fragility and value of life. I was grateful for my lucky escape and realized the importance of safety precautions at work. Since then, I have taken my self-protection more seriously and encourage those around me to enhance their safety awareness. Although the fear of that night gradually faded over time,